Okay, so when you hear the term yogic cleansing, what comes to mind? Probably some kind of simple detox, right? A way to purify the body. But what if I told you it was a far more sophisticated system, an ancient technology for fine-tuning your entire physiology? Today, we're diving into Dhauti, a practice that is so much more than just washing. And this is where it gets really interesting, right from the core philosophy. In the classical Hatha Yoga view, your body isn't just a vessel carrying you around. Nope, it's a complex instrument. And just like any instrument, its performance, how well you breathe, digest, even think, it all depends on it being properly tuned. If things get sluggish or congested, it throws everything off. Well, Dhauti is the toolkit designed to tune that very instrument. So, yeah, while the word Dhauti literally translates to wash, that's kind of selling it short. Big time. It's really a structured system for managing all the body's key interfaces. Think about it. Your mouth, your stomach, your intestines, all the places that have a huge impact on how we feel and function. This isn't random stuff. It's a deliberate technology. Okay, so if this is such a highly organized system, where in the world did it come from? Let's trace it back to the source. Well, our most detailed guide for all this comes from a medieval text called the Gherand Samhita. And I want you to picture this not as some vague philosophical scroll, but as an incredibly pragmatic instruction manual. It lays out these practices with amazing structure and detail, treating health like a full-on psychophysical science. And, Dhauti doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's actually one of 6 core purification practices called the Shatkarma. Think of this as laying the groundwork. The whole idea was you first have to stabilize the body's basic systems before you can safely move on to more advanced, subtle things like breathwork. It's just a really logical, step-by-step approach. All right, let's get into the system itself and see how it all fits together. The Gherand Samhita breaks Dhauti down into 4 distinct categories, and each one targets a totally different part of the body. Here's the quick cheat sheet. You've got Antar Dhauti for your internal digestive tract, Danta Dhauti for your mouth, Rith Dhauti for the upper tract, think esophagus and chest, and Mula Shodhana for the lower tract. Let's do a quick flyby of each one. First up is Antar Dhauti, or internal cleansing. Now, this category is fascinating because the range is just wild. It includes some relatively mild practices like abdominal pumping, but it also goes all the way to incredibly intensive techniques like a full tract flush, which, as you can imagine, requires some serious expert guidance. Next is Danta Dhauti, and this one might actually sound familiar. It's all about oral hygiene. We're talking systematic cleaning of the teeth, gums, and, yup, the ancient practice of tongue scraping. It's a practice that, funny enough, a ton of people are rediscovering right now. Then we get to Rith Dhauti, which is for the upper tract. And, okay, this is where the intensity really ramps up. These methods include practices like cloth swallowing and induced vomiting. And as you can probably guess, these are absolutely not casual techniques, which brings us to a really, really important point. We have to be crystal clear about this. Our goal here is to explain this system, not to teach it. So, for obvious safety and ethical reasons, we're not going into the how-to of these high-intensity practices. They are powerful physiological interventions that absolutely demand expert guidance and proper medical screening. Please don't try this at home. And finally, there's Mula Shodhana, or root cleansing. This targets the lower tract. Given the sensitivity of this region, it's a practice that requires extreme caution and, frankly, is generally avoided today unless you're under highly specialized, medically informed supervision. So that's the ancient framework. But what happens when we shine the light of modern science on these practices? This is where it gets really compelling because the effects seem to go far, far beyond simple cleansing. Remember that intensive internal flush we talked about? A review of 12 different studies found that in healthy people, it didn't cause electrolyte imbalances, which is great. But what's really telling is that the research also noted benefits for things like hypertension and chronic low back pain. I mean, think about that. Those are systemic effects, not just about cleaning out your gut. And what about tongue scraping? A clinical trial found that actually reduced the pro-inflammatory response in patients with gingivitis. So this simple, ancient hygiene practice is directly linked to modern markers of inflammation. It's not just cosmetic. It's actually influencing your oral immunity. How cool is that? For the more intense practices, the picture gets a little more nuanced. Take induced vomiting. On the one hand, a study found it could potentially improve lung function by decreasing airway resistance. But on the other hand, and this is a big one, there are documented cases of serious dental erosion from long-term practice because of all that stomach acid. So it's powerful, but it comes with very real, measurable risks. And what about that milder abdominal pumping technique? Well, a 2022 study showed it measurably increases blood flow in a key artery that supplies the intestines. This gives us a clear physiological mechanism. It's not just some symbolic fire cleansing. It's a direct physical way to change the circulation in your digestive system. So, what do we do with all this information? How do we take this ancient wisdom and apply it with our modern understanding? Well, the key takeaway is pretty clear. Dhauti is not just about washing away impurities. It is a system of powerful, targeted physiological interventions. And modern evidence is starting to show that these practices can influence everything from inflammatory markers in your gums all the way to blood flow in your gut. So, a smart modern approach might look something like this. First, adopt the low-risk practices like tongue cleaning that have good evidence and fit right in with preventative medicine. Second, approach the high-intensity methods with extreme caution. They are interventions, not daily routines. And finally, just appreciate this system for what it is, a sophisticated, pre-modern health technology that's way more complex than a simple detox. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? As we get better and better at measuring the subtle workings of the human body, you just have to ask, what other ancient wisdom is out there just waiting for modern science to finally catch up and help us understand it?